when you man up against something, I think you try to take a stand on it, try to go against the norm and try to change it. So
manning up against violence means to me calling in and calling out.
Being able to say no to violence and not let it be tolerated.
you can go against the grain and challenge people's way of thinking.
Man up, don't be violent. The initiative is there because, I mean, you can never be too prepared for any of those kinds of situations.
So it definitely is an issue.
It's like putting the issue on men. They're the ones at fault here. And that's the whole point of this, or bringing the issue to light.
Masculinity and violence is connected. Like, it's just like you can see it through kind of how sport is commodified and what's glamorized in sport.
So people have a stereotypical view what men should be like.
Society makes it seem as to be viewed as being a man, you got to be overly aggressive.
They have a lot of expectations to live up to, so I mean, if they feel like they're not fulfilling that, then they may get angry with themselves or angry with others because they have those expectations that they can't meet.
Not so much as an expectation to be violent, but an expectation to be macho. You're aggressive, you're dominant in any aspect, right? So you're dominant in sports, you're dominant in work, you're dominant over your peers, dominant over women.
You're the dominant one, you're the superior one. So when you're hitting something, you're playing like, no, you're under me.
Why do you feel like you have the need to kind of like hit anybody? Like, what does that say about your ability to deal with your emotions?
Society has taught us that to be a man, you're supposed to be macho and tough.
I don't think violence makes you a man.
So you're telling someone who's hitting a woman to man up, they're not doing something manly. Okay, you're not being a man, you should man up.
People get frustrated, right? And it's like people want to either cry or they want to hit something, right? And
In your everyday life, there's a time in an argument, you're going to be aggressive, you're trying to get your point across. But when you take it too far and you act violently, that's where the line's drawn.
It's okay to be aggressive in a sport, you could say, but it's not okay to take that off the court or off the field.
Aggression is like putting your heart into it, trying your best, like going into tackles or, doing things like that, where violence is like going into something meaning to hurt somebody.
Being aggressive is the focus at all times, but it's not being violent.
We're in the spotlight, so there's more people watching us and being aware of what we're doing.
It's a lot of stress, but does that give you the right to hit a woman or, abuse somebody? I don't think so.
It's bad on the pure fact that that's something that happens every day in a lot of households with a lot of people.
Violence is violence, and we shouldn't let it just slip through the cracks.
In sports and stuff, they put women on the side, have them as dancers, as entertainers, and kind of makes them more of an object. So if people are looking at women as objects, yeah, it's just another thing I can break.
They're humans too, so it's not just like someone's property, they're their own person.
It's like it makes me feel like I'm an item, that I'm not like worth anything other than what you look like. So you're working so hard, and then when they just label you as being an image, it's like, why?
You're supposed to be a role model for little kids every day, and the fact that people take that for granted and aren't aware of it more often, it makes no sense to me.
Spotlight's on you. I mean, you don't think about it at the time, but realistically, the spotlight's on you.
When you have a problem like that, it reflects badly on like any kind of athletic sport in general. There's no way that it should be tolerated, whether it's on campus, in professional sports. The line has got to be drawn somewhere.
If we see it, like, we can do our best to even like mention to somebody else on their team, like, you need to talk to him.
you sit them down and you talk to them.
And if that did happen, I would think that guys would need to come together and talk to the person who was in the circumstance.
By being a bystander, you're just letting it happen.
It's not something that you should just brush off, say it sucks. Like, oh, no, that's wrong. Like, that needs to change. Like, people need to know this is happening.
Well, you know what, that happened to them. They got kicked off, this and this happened to them. Let's make sure that we don't do the same.
I want you to man up against violence.
Man up.
Man up against violence.
Hombres en contra de la violencia.
Man up against violence.
Man up against violence.
Man up against violence.
The whole thing that happened with like Ray Rice, right, happens and people are like, oh, that guy's a sorry.